Hi, I'm Billy Keels, the host of the Going Long podcast. Every week, I'm going to be here interviewing the absolute best in the business as it relates to real asset investing, as well as real Main Street investors. We're going to be having conversations where you can listen in, and that's going to help you to continue on your path to education so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident in investing long distance. So make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you're liking it as well, because that way you can get every single episode as soon as it comes out. And by the way, don't forget to leave today's episode a 5-star review. Let's go ahead and listen to today's conversation. Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. And you know what? If you've ever wanted to find freedom, even after being let go from the corporate world, then guess what? You're going to want to listen to every single word of today's conversation. And trust me, you're definitely going to want to listen to every single word, because today's guest not only was cut from the NFL, he also got into the consulting side of a franchising operation before he stepped away. And we'll call it stepped away from corporate life. You know, he's also an educator. He's a mentor. He's a father of 2. He's a husband. He's also a commercial broker, a syndicator. He's a host of the Live Free podcast. And he's also the co-founder of FTW Investments. I really want to welcome to today's show, Mr. Logan Freeman. Logan, welcome to the show, man.
Man, Billy, thank you for having me. Your message, the way that you go about this is one of a kind, and I am so excited to be here.
Man, you know, so much goodness is, I mean, just being able to see you, talk to you even before in our pre-conversation, it's going to be awesome, man. It's going to be awesome. The bar set really, really high. So listen, I didn't even talk about all of the other like kind of transactional stuff that you've done, over 125 transactions and over the 15 million raised. And I'm sure these numbers have changed and over 75 million in sales volume. And I know you're going to be doing some really, really awesome things this year specifically. You've been doing a lot. And so we're going to get into that as well. So, but the first thing, as you know, is help us understand, where do you live in the United States, Logan?
Kansas City, Missouri. And Billy, a lot of people, whenever I say Kansas City, I have to define where that is, because there is a Kansas City, Kansas, and it's a little bit of a misnomer that Kansas City is in Kansas. Most of what happens in Kansas City is in Missouri.
Oh, yeah. I used to live in Missouri as well. I don't think we talked about that, but we'll talk about it afterwards. Awesome. So cool. So thanks for that. And then what is the most positive thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours, Logan?
Billy, I am big on reflection. And the most positive thing that I had happen to me was a post that I had go viral on LinkedIn on Monday. It wasn't that it went viral that was the most positive thing. It was, what was the message that moved people and why did that resonate? And that really got my wheels spinning. I get so involved in the day-to-day of our operations of real estate, raising capital, finding deals, that I forget that sales and marketing is the transference of feeling. And it was a post about how I have spent 522 hours before the sun has come up this year. I've created 21 days or 22 days before my competition has gotten up. And so I was really excited. The most positive thing that happened was that got my wheels spinning about a new podcast that I am going to launch that I could talk about a little bit. And it's a really cool concept. So that's the most positive thing. It's got me jacked up. I'm super excited about it.
All right. Well, so I love that you're excited about it. I'm excited about it as well. And I checked that out. And, you know, I'm one of these guys also. I wake up at 4:30, 4:45. You usually see it on my Instagram or Facebook or one of these kinds of things. So I love that. Those of us that get up early, attack the day and really get things set right. So we're going to jump into that for sure. So awesome. Listen, and I know your kind of story starts even at 13 years old. You were doing things and getting involved. And I'd love for you to, I've talked about some things at a really high level, but help us understand who is Logan Freeman, some of the different decisions that you've made, some of the things that have affected you, your life, that have helped you to be so successful and learner and giver up to this point in your journey.
Well, Billy, it is the best way to define this is there's been so many folks that have helped me along the way. And that's where the go-giver mentality comes from. But I grew up in a small country town in Missouri. You know, it is the capital of Missouri, but it is small. And it's the mindset there is a little bit more of what I'll call the fixed mindset instead of what Carol Dweck calls the growth mindset. And, it's a competition to see who has the biggest truck in Jefferson City. I have no, qualms about Jefferson City. It's a great place to grow up, but it won't expand your horizons. And so, my mom was a big influence on me, my father as well, but my mom was a big influence in me growing up. She really helped me value the dollar. And every single dollar that you earn needs to be valued and taken care of, because nothing comes free in this life. I watched my mom work 2 full-time jobs, working night shifts and then sleeping very, very little, getting up and going to another 8-hour shift at a nursing home. And she did that because she wanted to give us a life that she didn't have, and a life that was better. And so I really respected that. So when I was, like you mentioned, 13 years old, I went to my mom and I said, hey, I want to start buying things, saving money. I want to start working. How can I do that? And she's like, well, you're 13, kid. Like, you can't do that. And I wasn't really satisfied with that. So I figured out how to create money. I was a big guy. I was pretty developed as 13-year-old and started to find odd jobs around the neighborhood and things I could do. But when I was 14 years old, I had a buddy who said, yeah, I actually got a job at this catering business, and you can work a certain amount of hours after school if you get them to write you a note that says, you can keep your grades up. I said, well, I can do that. And so at 14, I was working as a dishwasher, a floor sweeper, and then I moved up in that company. And then on the weekends, I would also bale hay. I would take bales of hay off of the ground, put them on a trailer. And since I was the tall guy, I had to stand up on the trailer and stack those things 6 high. So I really started to value the dollar as well, tried to earn some income. And, I was a Dave Ramsey guy. This is what was, influenced on me. And so when I was a freshman in high school, I took some sort of financial peace university at my high school, which was great because I started to learn about investing, Roth IRAs, all of these different things. And at 15, I'm proud to say I opened my Roth IRA at 15 years old. That would have been 15 years ago now, which is pretty cool. And I get to see that number that would not be the same if I hadn't started when I was 15 years old. And some of those dollars are absolutely the most meaningful to me. Billy, the other part of my life was I was an athlete, man. I identified as an athlete. I had some issues at home that I had to deal with and go through. And I found comfort in being an athlete. I found comfort in competing against not only, my fellow athletes, but also against myself. And I kind of, took that and was a high school basketball and football player and, had some success. And so I got a scholarship to play football at the University of Central Missouri. Since I worked at that catering business, they had a big influence on my work ethic. I got a hotel and restaurant management degree. 2.5 years into that degree, I learned that in working in hotels and restaurants, that's not what I wanted to do. And so I did not switch majors, but I did, pursue my master's degree in business. And, I got my 4-year degree taken care of in 4 years. Most athletes don't do that in over 4. They do it over 5 because you get redshirted. Well, I was like, I'm a student athlete, so I'm going to get this degree and then I'm going to move on to my master's degree. And I did that. And after I, finished my last season of football, I was able to get picked up as an undrafted free agent with the Oakland Raiders. And I went out to camp and, I beat some guys out, and that story is a whole nother one to unpack. I don't know if it's the right time or place, but I did get cut from, that team. And when I got cut, I decided to go back and finish my master's degree. 2 weeks later, the San Francisco 49ers called and said, hey, would you like to come out to camp? Our center just went down. And it was a defining moment for me because I said no. And I said no so fast without thinking of it. It was like a Freudian slip. But I said, man, I need to follow that intuition. And so I did not go back to playing football, finished my master's degree. When I finished my master's degree, another big decision pointer, deciding kind of point in my life happened. And I lost my father to drugs and alcohol abuse. And so in a matter of 6 months, I go from being in the NFL, losing 100 pounds, no longer an athlete, and then also losing my father. And so it was just this amalgamation of these big events that I really had to step back and say, who is Logan Freeman as an individual? And almost 8 years ago now, I would say is the big turning point in my life. And that's when all of those events happened.
Wow. So you had a lot of different things that happened, and you had a lot of different decisions that you make. you had your mother that was surrounding you, was able to lead by example, show you, and I'm sure that a lot of that happened because you saw what she was doing, right? And
Yes.
you said something about sports, and you talked about football, and you said that it helped you about competition. You also just shared something about what must have been a very difficult 6 months, losing your father, and then also too walking away from or having the fortitude to say no, right? To go back to the NFL. And so you talked about competition with sports. Also, talk to us about the camaraderie that you found in
Yes.
sports that really helped you.
That was another big piece, I think, that turned into why I made the decision not to go to the 49ers was I've always enjoyed putting a goal out in front of there and then working to achieve that with other people. But I didn't necessarily enjoy playing football. Okay. Like the actual act of banging my head against somebody, breaking fingers, having shoulder surgeries on both shoulders. You guys can see the scars there, breaking an ankle, tearing an MCL, like all of that stuff and the daily grind I didn't love. What I did love was transforming my body through weight training, through going through hard things with other people. And when I got to the NFL, the camaraderie from the collegiate athletics that I had received and worked towards as the captain of the team and just being that leader was no longer there. And that is okay. But at the same time, it wasn't a part of what I experienced when I was at the Oakland Raiders. The camaraderie was no longer, hey, let me lift you up. It was, I'm trying to beat you out. And I said, well, I can go along this path, but am I going to enjoy it? Am I going to be fulfilled? Is this the right move for me? And when the Oakland Raiders cut me, I kind of made that decision really quickly. My agent was not happy with me. But at the same time, I didn't care because I knew if I took that next level or that next step to becoming a 49er, I would have felt the same way. And I knew that somewhere deep down that I had something to prove. I had something to prove to myself that I wasn't just a big jock. And I wanted to prove that to myself. And so when that camaraderie piece left, when I got cut, it was the perfect time for me to reinvent myself.
Okay, perfect. So you got those, you got that. You seem to be a person who's also intuitive. You understand when you feel that, then you're making the decisions. And I think that's great. And, also speaking of which, thinking about the NFL and thinking about you having this understanding of camaraderie, having had a father was battled through addiction. I know faith is something that's really important to you as well.
Yes.
And so these are a lot of different emotional kind of swings. So just curious as how emotion in general helps you today to be able to drive your goals, your dreams, and also impact other people's lives. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, Billy, if you can't name it, you can't tame it, And so with the election going on, with all these different things going on, I just came off a big high of closing 467 units here in Kansas City. I recently have been feeling, and I'm feeling it even this morning before we got on the podcast, anxiety. And I'm diving into now, what is that anxiety? Because it comes and it goes, and there's no reason that I should have anxiety. But what it is uncertainty and what's the next thing for me? And so understanding emotional intelligence is super important. There's 4 components of it. It's self-awareness, which is understanding yourself, self-management. Okay, I understand myself. How do I manage myself? Social awareness, and then relationship management. And so those 4 quadrants are something that I'm always looking through the lens of, okay, what is this relationship? Where is it at? What's going on? What's the situation? What's happening here? But it all starts with you. If you can't understand what's going inside of you, how can you influence or be the best version of yourself? And so 6 or 7 years ago, I got really involved in strength finders. So understanding my talents, if developed the right way, would turn into my strengths. And so I started to understand, okay, what am I made of? Like, what makes me unique? What's what am I different? How am I different? And then that led me into Emotional Intelligence 2.0, which is another book that you can take an assessment and work on certain things. And then it was, okay, let me study Daniel Goleman. And then it was, okay, let me study behavioral psychology. Oh, and then there comes Tony Robbins, and he completely changed everything for me. He took all of the ideas that were complete at the theoretical level and made them effective at the applied level. Right. And I stole that line from him just recently. If you can't name it, you can't tame it. And so all of the things that happen in life, Viktor Frankl talks about this in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. I mean, he was in the concentration camps, stripped of his clothes, his family was killed, all of these things, but he still held true to his identity. He said, this is the one thing that they cannot take from me. And he coined the term, between a stimulus and a response, you have a choice. So many times in my life, I didn't feel like I had a choice. I didn't feel like I had a decision to make. There's a story that you get to tell yourself about what's happening. And then if you can tell the right empowering story, you can control that. And so then it started me down this path of understanding the circle of control and the circle of concern. And so many things in this life, especially with the election, coronavirus, all of these things are technically out of my control. They're in my circle of concern. So minimizing things that I'm letting impact me, right, on a regular basis. But that starts with emotions, and emotions are just simply the stories that you're telling yourself from stimuluses that you either are allowing on yourself or you're putting on yourself. And so I study emotional intelligence still on a regular basis because, if you hear somebody say, Billy, I will be happy when, I will be excited when, I will be joyful when, that is going to happen, right? Okay, that is a feeling that external response or that external thing that you get, or when it happens, you think that's going to put on you. No, that's just a stimulus. There's the story that you can tell yourself about that you can experience right now.
Yep.
And so I try to tell people and help people understand that between that stimulus and response, you can choose, and it's up to you, but you can't do that without understanding yourself. And so I really think that self-awareness is the most important skill to start to develop. And then obviously the other components that we talked about of emotional intelligence.
Yeah, I really love that. And so being able to unpack so many of those different angles and areas of emotional awareness is something that is really, really important. And so let's attack that, right? Let's just jump right into that, because you said, if you can't name it, you can't tame it. I love that. Right. We're in a year which is absolutely it's unprecedented, right? And so, and there are a lot of narratives that people are telling themselves that say, hey, look, I'm not gonna do this for a number of different reasons, right? And you've named some of them already. You've made this year a year where you decided not to fall back. You're fully leaning in. And I want you to help us understand, number one, why have you made the decision to lean in now when so many people are being defensive, number one. And then the second thing is, as you're leaning in, how much is impacting lives playing a role in that?
Sure. Well, one thing that I want to unpack there is leaning in, right? I'm not afraid, Billy. I don't have fear about what's happening outside of my control. I've hit rock bottom. I've been cut from the NFL. I've lost my father. I was no longer an athlete. All of these different things, $0 to my name. And that wasn't that long ago. I've been at that rock bottom. And so to me, there's nothing that I can't come back from, right? Now, to say that now I have a wife and kids and there's other new circumstances, but I am not fearful of what the external circumstances might actually bring to me, right? So for me, that's a big part of how I've decided to lean in this year. With that being said, I have some great partners that also have been through cycles like this, right? They've been through certain circumstances that allow them to have the confidence to move forward. And so I've been talking about this a lot. In March, everybody was super fearful. Everybody was sitting on the sidelines, and maybe rightfully so. But I'm on record, on video, on my YouTube channel saying, this is what we're going to do. And if you guys wait for COVID pricing on the commercial real estate assets that you're going after, it won't be there when you're ready. And look what we're at now. We're 7 months in. We've done over 550 units in Kansas City since then. And now everybody's stepping back in and prices are going to go way back up. So I think that for me, it was not having fear of things that I couldn't control, because I know that if everything falls away, I know how to build it back up. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, the impact that I have had on other people, I have been able to see. I've been able to see it firsthand. I've been able to see the single mom with 3 kids struggling, trying to find enough dollars for rent. And I've been able to take that lady, give her the resources that she needs, apply affordable housing for her. And now she's got a job. She's working. Her kids are okay. She's not on the street underneath the bridge. Man, there is nothing more motivating than allowing me to see kind of those results firsthand. And so whenever I can merge my greatest strength with my greatest passion is where I'm operating in that sweet spot. And that sweet spot is where I've spent a lot of time this year. And so the impact, the legacy that I'm trying to leave for my family, for my kids through commercial real estate is really, really fun to watch happen, come to fruition. And I've really made it my job in my day-to-day, or not day-to-day, but weekly job to impact people that are less fortunate than myself, because I know that it can just take one person, one idea, one decision, right? That they just might need to just spur them to the next level. And, success is the best, successful achievement is the best motivator there is in life. And so being able to do that through commercial real estate this year has been, one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done professionally.
And I think that that's great that you have that sentiment, right? That you're moving forward, that you are leaning in at a time when others are not, and you're having the impact and you're able to see those tangible results. There's one thing that I am just going to kind of call you out on, because you said that one of the things that you are trying to do for your family to leave to build legacy. It's not you're not trying to do it. You are doing it, which is the great thing, right? And with each step that you're moving forward, you're learning, you're paying forward. And so I just want you, I know, words are really important, and you're doing a lot more than trying. You're actually doing, and that's why you're so inspirational for so many people, and that you're having such a great impact. So,
well, thank you for that, Billy. That feels really good. And one of my love languages is words of affirmation. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, man. My pleasure. My pleasure. Listen, I want to pivot a little bit. Right?
Yeah.
There's some things that you talk about that sometimes are a little bit controversial. So we're going to go to the controversial area.
Let's do it.
We're going to talk about financial planners.
Okay.
Right. We all have friends that are financial planners.
So do I.
We all have them. Right. And so, but there's kind of a reality, right? There are certain things that financial planners absolutely do not want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
And one of those things is private placements.
That's right.
So I know you have some strong feelings about this.
Mm-hmm.
I really would love for you to share with the Going Long audience, why do you think it is that financial planners don't talk to everybody in the world about private placements?
Well, Billy, I have my own financial planner. Okay. So I work with a local firm here, Peter Maluk, and I respect him dearly at Creative Planning. With that being said, you have to think about how people are being compensated. And I have had so many folks reach out to me from the big shops, I don't need to name them, but it's the same mentality of you come in as an intern and then, you call 25 people and set up these meetings for me and all of this thing. And I have a real issue with an industry that is a commodity and that folks can do themselves at the same level for much cheaper. So with that being said, they call themselves fiduciaries. And I have an issue with somebody saying, I have your best interest in mind no matter what. And the advice I'm giving you is the best advice that I would give myself. And that's not true. Like that is what the issue is blatant lying to folks, because there are true fiduciaries that are set up different ways to be compensated. You do not have to go in a specific fund for them to get compensated. And so there's this mantra of these large companies and institutions telling people that they're fiduciaries when they're really not. And then also saying, well, you should, all of your investable capital needs to go in this portfolio, and there is no tangible assets in that portfolio. We all know that the greatest wealth has been created through tangible assets, whether that be businesses, real estate, precious metals, and or liquid, like gas and oil.
Energy.
I mean, that should at very least have some sort of allocation. If you are a fiduciary, you should say, hey, I know that you have $100,000 to invest this year. This is where you're going to put, some of this, but hey, also you should probably really think about investing in private real estate. This is since the Jobs Act of 2012, now you can do this through 506B and C syndications. And, all you need to do is do a quick search and 4,500 syndicators will pop up that you can talk to. And I will give you some best practices. And here's the questions you should ask about. I have never heard that from a financial planner. What they will say, Billy, is, oh, well, I'll put you in an ETF fund, or I'll put you into a REIT, a real estate investment trust, which, by the way, goes up and goes down no matter what the market is doing. So that is not fiduciary advice. And so when I wrote that article about private placements, oh man, it got some people's blood boiling, and rightfully so. But I did not see any of those financial planners saying, I have friends in the real estate industry that I can refer people over to. And so when you think about Tiger 21, which is an exclusive investing club, and you have to have a certain number of dollars that can be invested to do that, a certain number of net worth, and you have to be accepted. So there has to be a values alignment. These are the top of the top investors. You see what they're investing in, and 90% of their portfolio is in things outside of what can be swinged by the market. So I think that that might give you a good stepping off point, but I can't allow people to share messaging that is false. It just does not, and it happens inside the commercial real estate world as well. That's a whole nother podcast to get into. But the financial industry, as I continue to learn it and read, I read Tony Robbins' Money Mastery, The Game is right behind me, and his other one, he wrote 2 books. About these. That's what got me turned on to this and then I found out there's companies like Bloom in Kansas City that have a tech platform, and they have recommendations with 1/8 of the fees of a financial planner that you can make the same allocations to. That's where I have an issue at, and they make you feel like that's your only option. And that's where I have an ethical dilemma.
Yeah. So, and having ethical dilemmas is something that can happen to so many people, but this is one of the things that I have some energy on this as well, right? Because speaking to people and investors, potential investors, and understanding the interactions that they have with financial planners. Like I said, I have very good friends that are financial planners, and as I have also a very clear point of view, and I'm similar to you in that when you can take more control over your financial life, it doesn't mean that you won't work with a financial planner, but you're going to work with a financial planner that is actually working in your best interest. That really helps you to go. What I typically say is they're going to go off of that one sheet of paper that has all the different products that they can sell, right? Those are the people that you're really going to want to reach out to and help. I actually just read a book by a guy named John McGregor. Talking about the top 10 reasons the rich go broke, and that was a very interesting insight as well.
Right, and Billy too, you have to think about your age, where you're at. Definitely. Right? I mean, holy cow, the SEC is doing their best job to get private real estate and private commercial real estate and private business opportunities in front of folks, because they know that Social Security is going away, and our baby boomers and the older folks, the seniors in in this age, they need an alternative that's going to produce actual cash flow. And so they're making it easier for those folks to get into those deals. Now that comes up to, there's a whole nother opportunity for education in that space, but we're seeing that with the ability to do self-directed IRAs and, invest those dollars into certain commercial private placements, which is really important. So I just it just makes my skin itch when there's only one sheet that somebody says, these are your options.
Yeah.
And I'd much rather have my financial planner, which mine does, get paid a salary and bonus off the success that we have together.
Yeah, success fee. So that makes a lot of sense. So we went there, right? And so I appreciate us being able to go there. I kind of want to go the other way a bit as well, because you are, when everybody who knows you comes into contact with you, there's almost, you're synonymous with Kansas City now, right? And so, we like to talk about being able to go long and invest beyond your backyard. And so I would love for you to help us understand a bit more about Kansas City as a market, some of the things that you're really excited about, that people that are looking to invest beyond their backyard are like, wow, you know what? I really need to be considering Kansas City.
Yes. So there's a couple markers that you always obviously want to look at when you're looking into a market or to a new market. And a couple of those are population growth and job growth. But inside of that, you also need to look at affordability and the median average rent to income ratios and where the jobs are coming from. Because as we have seen the last 7 months, a lot of folks have unfortunately been laid off of their jobs, right? But in industries, in markets like Kansas City, where there is a ton of logistics jobs, there's a ton of warehousing jobs. We have more rail, by tonnage here in Kansas City than anywhere else in the country. So that's creating a lot of opportunities on that side of the business. We have a new and growing tech hub here in Kansas City, because I wrote about this as well, the migration into the heartland. And it's not just Kansas City. I just picked Kansas City because I live here, right? Yeah. It's happening across the Midwest or the heartland, whatever you want to call that. And it's a migration of investor dollars because of the affordability, of job growth still happening positively, of population growth happening, and then of affordability. There's the tech growth, because no longer are companies, requiring you to come into an office so much. Yeah. And so that might be a very big trend to watch. So some of those folks are working at Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook, Intel, all of those companies out in California, but they're migrating to Tennessee, Kansas City, Missouri, Oklahoma City is another hot one. Indianapolis is another.
I was just going to say Indianapolis is one that's
they're
huge
moving
nowadays.
There because they get the same benefits of getting paid what they're going to in California, but now their cost of living just went down 35-40%.
Exactly.
So, So that's a big piece of it.
No, go ahead.
And obviously we've got some really great things happening here with our new airport. We have Amazon just, took another 1 million square feet, which created another, they've created over 5,000 jobs the last 2 years in Kansas City alone. So there's, I could go on and on and on about that, but those are the things that are positive that are happening, and things that I think people need to think about as they're looking at a new market to invest in.
Okay. And I think that's fantastic. So you're giving us some things to think about, key metrics, different things like migration patterns in industries, et cetera, et cetera. And that's another reason you want to check out Kansas City. And I think you probably check out things that Logan and his team are doing. Listen, you mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, some of the things that you're doing differently now. You talked about being able to get an extra, I think you said 21 days.
That's right.
That's for 21 days. So, and I love also this whole thing of waking up early in the morning and kind of tell us a little bit about what that whole process has been like for you, and kind of what are you going to be doing to help impact other lives from what you've learned so far from this early morning stuff?
You can't give what you don't have. And if you want to operate at the level that I am trying to operate at, you have to fill yourself up. A mentor of mine who owned and started the Chick-fil-A in Lee Summit here in Kansas City, he's now down in Texas. He has 5 kids now. One's adopted. One is I don't know the technical term, but he will never be a normal sized human being. He'll be a little guy. His whole life, he's been through all of these battles with the adoption. He said, Logan, and he pours into people. Just pours into people just so heavily. He looked at me one day and said, you have to figure out how to fill your cup up. And that's either through other men and women in your life, or that's through time by yourself. And somebody asked me what success was like the other day. And I said, being able to sit in a dark room in silence and be joyful. That is a weird answer.
Love that.
But it is an answer that I don't feel like a bad person. I don't feel like I have stress in my life. And I can't do that if I don't get up. I get up between 3 a.m. and 3:30 here in Kansas City. And I can't do that if I don't fill myself up in the morning before my crazy day gets started.
Yep.
And I'm always thinking, how can I help my wife get her day started? So by 6:15, she's getting up. The little guy's getting up. I've got the bottles made. I've got Isabella's milk going. I've got the bags packed to take the kids to daycare. I've got her coffee brewed. I've got the TV on, her favorite show. All of these different things that are just little things that really start to add up. So, you can't give what you don't have. If I don't have love, if I don't have confidence, if I don't have peace in my life, how the heck am I going to impact anybody else? So I look at what I do from 3 to 6:30 every single morning as a service, because I know how much I'm going to outpour, but I can't pour it out if I don't fill it up in the morning. So that, I'm a Hal Elrod kind of guy. So, silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing are all things that I try to do. I'm
Savers, baby. Savers.
Yeah. Savers. I mean, he had a big impact on my life. But I'm a big faith guy. So my scripture in the morning, my reflection is important. My journaling is important. Sometimes I'll get the screens on and get the computer going, but a lot of times I don't. And I'm just sitting there thinking, and that's where the creative juices start to flow. So I'm writing all the time in the morning as well, and just working through issues, man. I mean, like, if I don't work through a personal issue in the morning, how am I going to be on this podcast when I show up? I'm not going to be the best version of myself, but I worked through it this morning. I'm here, I'm present, I'm bringing the fire because I want to help. I want to pour out, and you have to be able to find time for that. And this is the other rub that I'm going to maybe upset some people about, but you can't give yourself the excuse that you say you're not a morning person, because unless you have worked nights like my mom for 33 years and you really aren't a morning person, your body has changed, you don't have an excuse to get up an hour earlier. If you, the next 90 days, set your alarm 1 minute earlier every single day, you'll be up an hour and a half earlier. So make gradual changes. Read James Clear's Atomic Habits. You can make it happen.
I love that. So that is, but so you're giving me some more inspiration. So I thought getting up at 4:30 was pretty good. I do that with an alarm clock. So now I like that. So more inspiration. Hey, listen, I have one last question before we go into the Going Long Final Three and people get a chance to connect with you. I know that you've talked about giving and giving back and things like that. And I know that some of the things that you really care about, you are a food pantry organizer, that you're also actively a part of Cornerstone of Care, as well as Habitat for Humanity. So kind of tell us a little bit about why being able to volunteer and give.
And God just continues to just bestow blessings on me. Now, you have to knock for that door to be open, and I do a lot of knocking, but I also know that it's not, I'm being blessed. Okay. And so to do that, I need to use my talents, if I go back to the Bible, in the right way. I'm not going to bury them in the ground. And so a big thing for me actually is to end homelessness in Kansas City. So we have Care Kits KC, where we pack bags 3 or 4 times a year for the homeless, and we hand them out to them, and we meet them where they're at, and they can get information on how they can, get services and the need that they have. But there's food, there's clothes, there's water in those bags. I get a lot of fulfillment in that, raise some money for that little foundation. But my big passion right now is Restart, which is a nonprofit organization that I sit on the board of directors at here in Kansas City. They have the infrastructure. I've got the CEO on board. She's going to be on the podcast pretty soon. And I've done projects with them where I will buy a building and we will master lease, 25, 30 units out to their clients in need. And so to me, it's meeting people where they're at, and then also using the talents and the blessings that continue to get bestowed on me and the family, and pouring those back into folks, and hoping that just creates a better world, right? I mean, that's the only way we're going to impact it. If we just believe in the butterfly effect, little things do matter. Mother Teresa said, do small things with extraordinary love and extraordinary effort. It doesn't take huge things. You don't have to be Zuckerberg to have the impact that you need. You can do small things with great love, and you will start to impact people. And that's been a guiding light for me.
Okay, love that. And so it's great to hear that the focus that you have there, as well as once again, it's about being able to impact impact others positively. So listen, we're going to get ready and go into a lightning round of the Going Long final 3. And the thing is, I never asked the question, Logan, unless you tell me that you're ready for me to ask. So are you ready?
I was born ready.
I know it. I know you were. Here we go, man. Look, here we go. First question. We started with you in Kansas City. Now I want to bring it back this way to Europe. So I live here in Barcelona. I love living here. And so I always want to know, what is your favorite European city, either that you visited or still on your bucket list to visit?
I'm still wanting to visit Rome. Obviously, we've got the Pope right there, and I would love to go just visit all of Rome and just spend days and days there, soaking up the history, hearing the stories, and just learning more about it. So I am going to take my family there.
All right, perfect. So we have Rome as another vote for Rome. I love that city as well. Let me know before you go over. I got some good places you should go check out, see as well as eat. So listen, the next thing, successful people, I've seen pretty much all of them only have made one mistake. Well, maybe hang on a second. No, more than that, more than one mistake. And so because you're a successful person, I am going to assume that you've had your share of mistakes or learning opportunities, or however you want to say it. But if you could quickly tell us, like, what is one lesson that you've learned that you would pay forward to someone else today?
Don't be afraid of the details. People like to put themselves in buckets. I'm a visionary. I'm a high level guy. I'm this. Sure. So am I, because not a lot of folks really enjoy the details. But your life, your business, it happens in the details. The communication that you have. If you mess up on an email, if you don't say the right thing on a call, those are all things that you should not be overlooking. So the devil really is in the details, and it's a huge lesson I continually learn, an expensive lesson that I continually learn, but one that I'm continuing trying to dive into. Now, there's a difference between being busy and being productive, but there's also a difference between passing the buck and being attentive to detail. So that's what I would say.
All right. So don't be afraid of the detail. Love that. And I share that with you. So last question. And if you're not watching us, I've already said it a couple of times. He kind of showed us some of the things that he had going on on his shoulders. He showed us pictures of the Pope. And look, I love this. It's like your shelf, my shelf here in the background. We're going to talk about feeding the mind, Logan. What book would you recommend to the Going Long audience today?
Since we've talked a lot about emotional intelligence and how to kind of unpack that, I would have to say it would be Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. It's a big, thick book. Don't try to read it in a month. Read a chapter a month for a year and just implement that. But that is a book that doesn't get talked about a lot because Tony's so active with the podcast, with his new books. But that was back when he was like 28, 29, maybe 30. And it's some of his best work, in my opinion. So Awaken the Giant Within.
Awaken the Giant Within. We love that. So those are all going to be part of the going to be in the show notes. So we'll make sure that we get those there. And look, you brought it today. A game once again, Logan. So you helped us understand from 13 years old, really recognizing that you wanted to get out there, you wanted to get things done. You saw your mom working; she inspired you. At 15, you were already making your first investment in your Roth IRA, and so times later in your life, you're seeing that those are positive things that are happening. You've gone through a lot of emotional ups and downs, and through all of it, you have the desire and the desire to go out and continue to positively impact lives. You're doing that through volunteering. You're doing that through FTW Investments. You're doing that through Live Free Podcast.
Yep.
You're doing it through so many different ways. And so I know that so many people have been inspired and drawn to you today. And what I'd love for you to help everybody understand is, what is the best way to get in touch with you so they can learn more about you and what it is that what you're doing?
Well, LinkedIn is by far the best way to get in touch with me. I'm there 3 to 4 times a day. You can just search Logan Freeman. There's a big head right there that looks like me. So just search Logan Freeman, Kansas City. You'll find it. Or you can head over to my personal website, livefreeinvestments.com. It's just exactly how it sounds.
All right, cool. Yeah, livefreeinvestments.com. Everybody go there. This is something I'm saying you definitely need to be doing. And you can also check out Logan on LinkedIn. He is very active and very much a giver. So, Logan, man, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking and investing your time with me and having this conversation and sharing and impacting so many other lives today on audio, on video. And thank you very much for investing your time with me today.
Thank you for having me, Billy, and thanks for pulling out some great nuggets today.
Yeah, man, it's been awesome. And so also going along, audience, listen, this is Logan really brought it today. He left everything, he dropped all the motion out, and he shared, giving you some really practical ideas and tips and how you can continue to give back and how you can continue to grow. And so I know he and I would both love to have an understanding of what are the things that you liked, what are the things that you'd like to learn more of. And so feel free to share today's episode with at least 2 other people. Be that person that impacts other people's lives, and leave us that review so we understand what it was that you like. And you know what? If you feel like leaving something that's 5-star, we'll accept that as well. So, I guess I always get excited about the next conversation, and I just want to wish everyone a fantastic day and let you know that I'm really looking forward to welcoming you back on the very next conversation. Until then, go out and make it a great day. Thank you very much.
Wow, don't you love hearing from top-notch experts in the field? You know, when I was getting started, I really wish that I would have had access to such experts. And even more, I wish they would have given me like a really simple list of things to follow so that I could have gotten to my goals much faster and been much happier even sooner. So that's why I've created for you the 7 things that you should avoid in order to be successful in long-distance investing. And you can pick that up really easily by going to billykeels.com/7 things to avoid. And also, if you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our very next episode, so go out and make it a great day.